your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, by dying for us, conquered death, by rising again, restored life. May we then go forward eagerly to meet him, and after our life on earth, be reunited with our brothers and sisters, where every tear will be wiped away. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ. We'll have the tributes now.
Hello everybody, and I'm not sure that everybody knows me or not, but my name's Barry Kletke, and I'm a proud baby brother to Audrey. So today I'm standing here, it's with a heavy heart that I stand before everybody, and on behalf of the Kletke family, share a few words about an incredible woman we all cherished. After her passing last week, I received numerous messages from friends and family, and pretty much every one of them included the words lovely lady and awesome friend. Audrey was a lovely lady, and those words hardly capture the depth of her kindness, grace, and warmth. She is a source of light in our lives, and it's no surprise that many people spoke of her in that way. Her nurturing spirit touched everyone she encountered. Her laughter / cackle, as we call it, would fill a room with joy. There was nothing better than having all three of my sisters cackling at the same time. It was a thing of beauty. Nobody could get away with teasing my sisters like you little baby brother could. Nobody could pickle and bake like Audrey. And my favorite was her incredible pickled garlic. And Sister Judy's was her hot cross buns and biscuits. And anyone who knew her loved her biscuits. At this point, I'm going to share a message from our sister Linda, who couldn't be here today. Audrey was such a part of my life when I was a young girl. We did everything together. I remember a time after we started county school, and we had to walk across the field through a neighbor's yard. They had a rooster that loved to chase Audrey and chase and peck Audrey. And I tried to chase it away, but nothing worked. Finally, our mother Hazel went and asked the neighbors to make roosters stew. They never seen a rooster again. One of the hardest times of my life was in 1963, when Audrey went away to nursing school. I missed her terribly. It was like I was missing my right arm. I still have the first letter she wrote to me. She was my bridesmaid at my wedding, along with my sister Judy. We were like the Three Musketeers getting into mischief as young girls. We've always supported each other throughout life. It was hard for me living so far away these past years. We've always stayed in touch, but it's not like the close personal touch. When she hugged me, I knew she meant it. I really wish I could be there, but life circumstances made that impossible. Love, Linda. Throughout her 79 years on this earth, Audrey embodied love in its purest form. She was not just our sister, but an unwavering support, a confidant, a friend. No matter the challenges she faced, she met them with strength and resilience, all while maintaining her positivity and charm. I do also want to add, though, that Audrey was a great friend to many of you, but you never wanted to cross her. With a little bit of her mom's stubbornness in her, she could really hold a grudge, but luckily not too many people crossed that line. Audrey had a unique ability to make everyone feel special. She was the kind of person who remembered every birthday, every important moment, and every detail about those she loved. Her genuine interest in others encouraged us to be our best selves, inspiring compassion and understanding. Now a quick note from my brother Ben. I have fond memories of her as a youngster, and her and Lloyd when they got married, and the Cats and Jammer boys. And if you guys haven't heard about the Cats and Jammers, I'm sure everybody in here has. He said after Mom passed away, he moved and kind of drifted apart from the family, but he felt very blessed that he was able to see her at her sister Judy's 75th birthday last fall. I love Ben. Now, one last personal story. Promise not to be too much longer because I was put on the clock here. After her mom passed away in 1995, we were clearing out her room at the Trochu Manor, and someone had the idea of pulling straws to let people pick what they'd like to take with them as a keepsake. I believe all the straws come out in the exact order of her age, therefore I got the 6th pick, and it was a snake draft, so I got the 6th and 7th. Well, at that point, there wasn't much left in that old room. So I took the dandy Neil O'Shea Electrolux vacuum cleaner and a bar fridge. Afterwards, Audrey come up to me after we were all done picking, and she come up to me and asked if she could buy the vacuum from me. I said, no way. She looked puzzled. She was like, And then I told her I'd give it to her with one caveat. Nora and I had a 1 and 2-year-old, and Grandma Kletke left to occasionally babysit them, so I asked if she would be able to help us out once in a while. And with a gleam in her eye, she said, of course. I believe we were both winners that day, and Erica will have more to say about her Auntie Audrey in a minute. As we gather here today, let us remember her not just for her lovely demeanor, great hugs, but for the profound impact she had on our lives and our communities. Let us carry forward her legacy of kindness, generosity, and love. Audrey may no longer be with us in body, but her spirit and beautiful memories we created together will forever live on in our hearts. Thank you, Audrey, for all you gave to us. We love you. Always our angel. Now I'm going to turn this over to our 2-year-old daughter, Erica, also known as Bossy Beth. She's going to come up and say a few words.
Hi, I'm Erica. Auntie Audrey, I always remember you for your warm, ever-present smile and laugh that would light up every room that you walked into. You were bound and determined to give Landon and I the best childhood you could, from teaching us how to make jam, to putting us to work in your yard, to sitting in the sunroom watching the different birds fly in and out, or simply by pressing play on Barney for the 100th time. You always had a knack for making the most delightful jams and pickled garlic that Dad could never stop talking about. Each jar you crafted was a reflection of your care and attention, a tangible expression of your love for those around you. You are a woman of remarkable stubbornness, but in the best sense of that word. Your life was a beautiful mosaic of love, dedication, and simplicity. You taught us all that small, seemingly mundane tasks of life can be filled with purpose and joy. You are leaving behind a legacy of warmth, persistence, and an unwavering commitment to the things that you loved. Though we will miss you dearly, let us find comfort in memories you have left behind and the lessons you have taught us. Your spirit will live on in the gardens you tended, the jars of jam and canned goods you prepared, and the hearts of all that knew you. A beautiful angel has gained her wings, and I bet you're up there right now making plans for your new gardens and preparing all your famous dishes in the kitchen. Until we meet again, Auntie Audrey, thank you for making our childhood so memorable and creating a place where we wanted to be as kids. I love you for forever and a day.
Good afternoon and welcome everybody to Audrey's celebration of her life. Audrey was quite a character. She was kind, generous, talented, a good community person, hard worker, fun-loving, and all around a good lady. Oh, and she could be a pain in the ass too. Audrey was a very good cook, as we've already heard. And we at the farm were asked for supper, we always said yes. It was a greatly prepared, multi-course meal, and a lot of times it was served on her fine chandelier silverware. But not always has she been a good cook. Apparently when her and Lloyd first got married, and it was to cook her first big meal, she had to ask Sister Judy to come and help the preparation. But it didn't take long and Audrey would need no one's help. Audrey was very good with her hands. She's sewing, crocheting. She'd make these doilies, and she'd be talking to you, and her hands are just going like this. And all of a sudden, this thing was stretched out all over the floor, and it was just spectacular. And the lawn chairs, remember the lawn chairs, these cord things we used to make? I don't know how many she made. And later, when her hands gave out on her, she took to making puzzles. And she'd make puzzles and spend hours, days, whatever, on these puzzles. And her cat would come up and sit on the puzzle with her and be a nuisance. And it's funny, when a piece would go astray and it would end up on the floor, it was the dog's fault, it wasn't the cat's fault. And she did love that cat. Boys hockey. Larry and Corey were quite the hockey players, and I think Lloyd and Audrey traveled up and down this province from one end to the other. Probably wore a couple cars out and doing it. The same with their grandkids. Whenever they had a function or something, she was always there. Audrey worked in the Elmore Hospital for a lot of years, and then a lab tech with her and her friend and nemesis, Penny McDonald. If you were going to their lab and were at least a bit squirmish about something or nervous, they didn't help you a damn bit. They didn't. If they knew you real well, they would get the biggest needle out and tell you to go in the room and strip. All they needed was your arm. But there were a pair of them too. Something you probably don't know is Audrey was quite a fisherman. Fisherwoman. Fisher. I just like the fish. My dad, he built a dugout, and he would stock it with fish. And at first Audrey wasn't much of a fisherwoman, but she soon learned how, and soon she showed the people who had taught her how to fish. And she was always the one to catch the fish. And I had kids coming up to me as adults saying that was the first fish they ever caught, was with Audrey. Showed them how to catch this fish. It was a lot of fun. Audrey and I were on the executive of the Legion for, probably too many years, but we stuck it out, and they stuck it out with us. But she was Barry Pennick's secretary, and then when I took over the job, she was secretary for the Legion and then she took over the membership. I think she really liked the membership because she could keep in touch with the people and know where they're at and how the kids were growing up. But she had quite a repertoire with them. They put on lots of parties, all kinds of things. I want to talk about the Christmas party a little bit. We have an annual Christmas party, and Santa Claus that's his stop at Audrey Lloyd's house. That's where he meets up with Audrey. And we would get prizes, or presents. Some of them, well, they were maybe a little risque. We had to be careful who we gave them to, so we had to make sure we got the right person and give them the right prize. I don't think we treated too many people, enemies of people, but and something that she came up with is she'd go downtown and buy some of these little paper bags and put an orange in them and a few candies, and probably make a couple of dozen of them. And we'd go around town dropping them off to people. And you know, that's pretty special. All right, curling. She was quite a curler. Her and I curled in the all-nighter a few times, a few years. What an awful bloody thing that all-nighter was. You show up, we were pretty happy about Friday night. By Sunday afternoon, you were just dragging your ass out of there. Well, we put up with it. We worked it through. And this one particular game I want to talk about is our good friend from Calgary, Dennis Loroff. He skipped the team, and there's myself and Audrey, and I think Risa, I didn't ask you today, but or Sandy Craig or something, I can't remember the fourth one. We met up with Sam. Audrey says, I want to meet that bugger. So Sam had our cousin Bob with him at that time, and another great lady, who this community just lost was Shirley Murphy. Great lady, beautiful lady. She was on Sam's team. Well, the game didn't start out very good for us. And there was talk of maybe throwing in the towel. And Audrey said, no damn chance. And after that little talking to or scolding, whatever you want to say, we pulled up our socks, and by God, we said it then, we were tied up coming home. We didn't have the hammer, but Dennis, he curls and made some fantastic shots, and we beat the pucker. She was just floating off that. I was so happy about beating Sam at her. One last thing, we have a little retreat at the farm here, and these poor ladies, Judy and Audrey and Custer and Rita, they would show up in wintertime. They would spend time in this little cabin. Oh, some of the things they did, it was, I don't think they can even talk about them anymore. My sister Shelley would come back up to the house and she would just be giggling. She said, well, those pair of goofy bunch of buggers, I don't know. One time Rita thought, well, she'd been there a few times and she was going to wear this onesie. She was cold and she was going to wear this onesie. But she never thought about going and having to go up the hill to the outhouse. You can imagine what that was about. Audrey has left a large hole in our families, 2 families. It's going to take a while to fill. I'm not sure what happens after you die or where we go, but I bet Audrey's up there getting everyone in line and has cleaned the place for us. Audrey's got a slice.
First off, I'd like to thank everyone for coming today to celebrate the life of Audrey, known as Auntie Audrey, Princess, Mrs. Cheshire, Mom, Grandaunt. She wore many hats. My name is Laura Lee, Floradora, as Audrey used to call me, and I'm Audrey's niece. They say the power of a person's life is in the stories they leave behind. We are sure honored to share a few of those with you today. I was lucky enough to have Audrey for an aunt for over 50 years. My dad, Gord, and Audrey were the outlaws early on of the Cheshire family, being more of the ship disturbers to the calm, quiet Cheshire demeanor. My parents married in October 1966, and Lloyd and Audrey married later in November 1966. The couples were very close. Not sure what Audrey was thinking of having 2 boys 11 months apart. Uncle Lloyd, you must have been a real Don Juan. Many of you know Larry and Corey, Lloyd and Audrey's boys. You know what little bastards they were growing up. Let's not mince words. One of the best stories Lloyd told us this past week was Corey got into some kind of trouble as usual and wouldn't listen. So Lloyd had had enough, grabbed him by the feet and upside down dunked him into the rain barrel repeatedly. This apparently didn't go over so well with Audrey, and she didn't sleep in the same room as Lloyd for a few days. She was very protective of her boys. She was so proud of the men we both grew up to be. My dad, Gordy, loved to tease Audrey at every opportunity he got, and it morphed into sending her rude cards from Chuckles, always signed from Santa's helper. I remember her squeal, laughter, and "Oh, Gordy, you're so rude," but she loved every minute of it. When my dad passed, I carried on the tradition, and then my son Connor followed. Getting a rise out of Audrey and hearing that laugh and cackle was truly the best. As it's been mentioned over and over, Audrey was the best cook, and anyone that had her meals was so lucky. I remember her and Lloyd and my parents coming to Ken and my house shortly after we were married for supper. I was no cook. Funny, nothing's changed. The meal was quite crappy, to be honest, but she never made mention of it, just eating it and just not wanting to make me feel bad. She was always asking, what can I bring to events, and her hands were always in the sink until that last dish was done. Auntie Shelley mentioned it was always a treat to be invited to Audrey and Lloyd's for supper. Audrey's house was impeccable, and she was a mini tornado, never stopped overworking a few of those Electrolux vacuums very slowly, I'm sure. Audrey always took great care of her appearance and loved to shop. Her and my mom Carol went on a shopping spree a few months ago. I would have loved to be a fly on the wall with those 2 broads with their cards in hand. It was so cute. My mom, Lilas, Nana, Shelley, and Audrey in the sunroom the last few years, letting the little kids sit at the big table. Audrey loved having a little sip of something with the ladies after supper. They were a very tight group of women. My husband Ken recalled the first time he met Audrey at the farm after we started dating. Once introduced, she came up to him and gave him the biggest hug and smooch on the lips. That never ended. She always greeted Ken and my boys that way. It was the best, and you always knew how much she loved you. Audrey, I will proudly carry on the tradition of cheering on our beloved Calgary Flames, no matter how painful it gets. I've only had 2 aunts in my life, but if you get the best, you only need 2. It's said the deeds you do for yourself are gone when you pass away. The deeds you do for others remain as your legacy. Auntie Audrey, what an amazing legacy you have left. We will remember and treasure you always.
Thanks everyone for coming. It's super overwhelming and amazing to see how many people showed up for Grand, so pretty awesome. Growing up, Grand and Granddad always had a beautiful, maintained yard with plenty of flowers. The bush in the backyard was always fun to search for Easter eggs in and bird watching as a kid. Some of her favorite birds were chickadees, robins, and hummingbirds. Hummingbirds were always her favorite, and it was a treat to get to see them so often in her yard. Inside the house, Chloe and I always looked forward to watching The Simpsons at Grand's, which we weren't allowed to watch at home. Further, we knew we could look forward to an amazing meal every time we were there. Her most iconic meal, in my opinion, was probably the salmon she'd bake with sides of scalloped potatoes, sweet potatoes, peas and carrots. Not to mention the bun she'd make. She'd have a salad with crab meat in it, like just full course every time. Warm cobbler dessert. Even the apples tasted better at Grand's house. Everything was good. Birthdays always meant there'd be money in the cake growing up. There'd be dimes and quarters and sometimes loonies and toonies, all plastic wrap. Meanwhile, Christmas Eve and morning were always at Grand's, where there was an incredible spread of snacks at the church and presents under the tree. And she had a beautiful tree. A list of gifts she's received that have made her cry include, but are not limited to, a calendar, Crocs, perfume, frying pans, and a vacuum. It didn't matter what we got her, she was always grateful and so moved by everything. In my sister's words, she loved out loud that way. One of her greatest talents was making people feel important and loved. Whether it be through her cooking or listening, she always had all the time in the world for us grandkids and kids. But whenever I was having a bad day or bad week, I always knew a visit with Grand would help me feel at ease and at peace. Grand's love was therapeutic that way. Grand and Granddad's house was a sanctuary for me that I always knew I could feel relaxed. When I got older, I always knew where I would end up after a night out at the ball or at the ball tournament or at the bar. I always knew I had a place to land. I also grew to enjoy having a drink out in the backyard. With Gran always was good for a Kokanee Gold and a chips. It always made me laugh that she loved her Kokanee Gold more than any other beer. It was super weird. Like, Kokanee Gold. That was her favorite beer. But I loved her for it. As I got older, I grew to appreciate Gran and Granddad as an incredible duo. Granddad loved to hit on Gran, and Gran liked to remind Granddad that he was eating too damn much food. In fairness, how can you not when you're faced with those meals every day? Often when I stopped for a visit, I'd make the mistake of asking them about an Elnora person, and then they go on a 30-minute long-winded discussion with each other about Elnora people that were in town in the 80s or 70s or whatever. No idea who they are. They've always been great role models in terms of how they work together to look after the family, the community, and each other. Gran was incredibly proud of her people, and her cat Teddy, also known as Kid. When I think of conversations with Gran, they almost always revolved around people, her cat, and what was going on in the community. She also liked and followed her Calgary sports teams in curling, and I always bonded with her over sport that way. Her and Gran attended countless sports games for us kids over the years. Her favorite thing might have been talking us grandkids and kids up, and we could do no wrong in her eyes. In Granddad's words, she thought the sun shined right out of her asses. It was pretty easy being one of her kids that way. Above all else, Gran always wanted to see us kids living our best lives and chasing our dreams or latest adventure. I had a great visit with Gran 2 weeks ago, where I told her about how I'd be doing the West Coast Trail hike, and with Lauren and her dad. When she passed, Granddad told me Gran would want me to still go, so we went. When I got to the start of my hike, I was sitting with Lauren when a hummingbird came just 2 feet away from us. And hovered there for a couple of seconds. Given that I've only really seen hummingbirds at Gran's, and I knew she loved them, I saw this as a sign from Gran that she is still with us. And I know she'll always be. I can speak for all of us when I say we'll always cherish her and miss her.